NERDSoul.
Why are you a black man in love? All right, welcome back everyone to Black Together, a walk in her shoes. I am Lady Lisa and I'm here with my sister cousin, partner in crime, Madam Buddaphlai. Say what's up.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.
All right. So for those of you that have been with us, welcome back. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, once again, this is Black Together, a walk in her shoes. This is just a podcast that we are doing where we're pretty much having conversations we've always had, but with you as the listener. And this is talking about different events, ideas, and what have you that have to do with Black women, or just our opinions as Black women on, different things in our community or in the world in general. We are finishing up a short series called Love Taps, and this is volume 3, where we're going to be talking about relationships with your adult children. If you want to check out volumes 1 and 2, we will have that posted below, and you can check us out on NERDSoul's platform. So we are here on NERDSoul's platform, and we are thankful for that on YouTube. You can check us out on ThatNERDSoul on YouTube, and you can also check out NERDSoul's many other videos that have anything to do with Black geek culture or just really Black culture in general. So that's YouTube, ThatNERDSoul. So let's jump into our topic today, Madam Buddaphlai. What do we have in our shoebox for today?
I'm so glad that you asked. Today we have an Anthony Wang Multi-6 Game Changer ankle boot, because today we are talking about discipline and guidance for our adult children.
Interesting that you said discipline for our adult children. So are adult children still being disciplined?
Well, I don't think that they should be, but that doesn't mean that they aren't.
But they be.
Right.
Yeah. We're gonna jump into that. All right. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit. So again, love taps. So we've been talking about in this short series pretty much being physical. So using physical discipline or spanking for your young children. And then we later talked about in volume 2 staying in relationships that are physically abusive. And now we're talking about, having relationships with your adult children and kind of crossing the boundaries and being physical with your adult children and how that works and, all of that. So, Madam Buddaphlai, in your opinion, under what circumstances could a parent find themselves becoming violent with their adult children?
Kirk Franklin.
He did not get violent. He threatened violence.
Well, no, I'm sure if he would have been in his presence, there would have been some furniture movement.
He would have laid hands. I'm sure he would have reached up and laid hands.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think, the respect factor is huge in the Black community. And, I think, depending on who you're talking about, that line of acceptability on respect, is in different places.
Yeah.
But I think that when a Black parent feels disrespected by their child, that is the highest possibility of furniture moving, is all I'm saying. And then I think too, when adult children show a sense of entitlement, like they're owed something, or that we're obligated
Mm-hmm.
to provide something.
Right.
Yeah, I think that, and from the parents' perspective, uh, an overwhelming desire to control their children. You
Yeah.
know, it's not always the adult child that is somehow in violation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the parent is just out of order, and
Yeah.
they don't know how to um they don't know how to be a parent to an adult child
Yeah.
and respect that transition.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think a lot of parents have a difficult time figuring that out, how to like you just said, have that relationship with an adult child. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm your child, but I'm not a child.
Right.
And then there's a lot of times I think a lack of respect. You don't respect your child as an adult. You don't respect them as a mother or as a father or just as a single adult person. I don't know. I don't know if the boundary is crossed so much violently. For the most part, of course, that does happen, but I think it's more so in what they say. It's like, I
Mm,
can say whatever I want to say to you because I'm your parent. I don't have to have
mm,
regard for your feelings. I don't have to have
mm.
regard for your privacy. I don't have to have regard for you just being an adult, like a
Right.
grown tail woman or a grown tail man.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, and I can imagine it has to be difficult because it's a shifting of your mind.
Right.
It really is. And I don't know. This is kind of a side story, but not really. I just remember when I had just turned 18, and we were at Granny's house, and one of our younger cousins, I'm not gonna call him out, but one of our younger cousins was just kind of talking to me kind of crazy, like I was still a kid, not being
Mm-hmm.
so much disrespectful, but just talking to me like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom said, "Well, you can't talk to her like that. She's grown." And he was like, "No, she's not." And she was like, "Yes, she is." And he kind of looked at me for a minute like, "Oh, well, I guess she is." You know, so, so I guess he had to kind of like wrap his brain around that too. Like, I mean, okay, yeah, she kind of is,
Right. Right.
and it's something that I remember you and I had talked about for some reason one time. We talked about the transition and the kind of rites of passage,
Mm-hmm.
where when we got older, we kind of we would go to Granny's house. We no longer had to sit in the living room with the children. We were kind
Right.
of invited into the kitchen with the
Right.
women, to
Right.
hear them gossip
Right.
and talk and possibly join in. You kind of feel it around, like, am I allowed to join in or can I just
Right.
listen? I don't
Right.
know what it is, but it was kind of a rite of passage of being able to sit in there and not have to sit with the children.
Right.
um so I don't know, I think at on one, because one part of me is like, well, yeah, you have those small steps and those small transitions, and so you kind of, from their perspective, you can see your child growing up, but then I guess
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, it's like you still haven't wrapped your mind around, my child is an adult and I can't
Right.
treat them a certain way. I can't uh put hands on them, I can't talk to them a certain way, and so I don't know, but honestly, I think, in my opinion, if a parent is putting their hands on and becoming violent with their adult child, to me, that's an extension of the relationship from when they were a child.
Right.
You don't just all of a sudden start putting hands on your adult child.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that you were doing all along, and you just haven't shifted your mind into, this is an adult. If this gets real crazy, they could actually call the police on me for assaulting another adult.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
I was thinking about with my oldest son
Hmm.
is 25.
Oh, you went. Yeah. You go.
He's 25,
Mhm.
and I can remember at one point, this was after he had already moved out of the house,
Mhm.
and he came over for a few minutes, and I wanted him to stay longer. And
Mm.
so, he was like, well, I gotta go and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even think about it in terms
Mm-hmm.
of he's, whatever age he was at that time, and that he's an adult and
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be really questioning him. I didn't even think about it like that. It was so natural, because you go all of these years being concerned about their whereabouts and
Yeah.
that they're safe and everything. And he just he looked at me and kind of chuckled, kissed me on the cheek. I'll see you later, mama. He didn't even really address my question. He didn't say, now wait a minute, I'm grown. Like, he didn't do any of that. He just kissed me on the cheek,
Now,
chuckled.
now he could have been like, I'm going over to this girl's house to handle some business.
which he has that level of candor with me. So, that very well could have been the case, but I appreciated how delicately he
Yeah.
handled me, and gave me an opportunity to just kind of regulate myself. And, during that whole transition, and I'll say it started around 18, 19 years old, as I saw him starting to try to loosen my grip on
Mm.
him, I just had a real deal conversation with him. I'm like, listen, I'm going to need you to be patient with me, because my default setting is to mother you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? As a child. So you have to keep in mind 18 years of interacting with you in this particular way. The switch doesn't just flip
Yeah.
because you've turned 18. Like, you have to understand that there has to be a transition in my mind.
Yeah.
And he's been fairly patient with me, and
Mm.
I've tap danced on the line a little bit. I tried to get keys to the apartment and all of
What?
that stuff.
You
I
didn't.
did, for
Girl,
emergencies.
please. You gonna
Yeah,
mess
he wasn't
around
trying
and
to.
walk in and hurt your own feelings.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to hear. And I would never have gone over there unannounced. Like, I was the queen of, we're not answering the door to somebody coming over here unannounced. You know
Right.
what I mean? The kids knew and understood. Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So he should know that I would never do that. But I guess, because I have been meddlesome in the past at times,
Uh-huh.
just a little bit, a
You're right.
sprinkling.
Uh-huh. That means it's been a whole bathtub.
Yeah,
Getting
he was like,
baptized.
you are not getting the key. I
Mm.
tried, I would say, a good solid 3 or 4 months after, because my oldest two they have an apartment together. So I'd say for the first 3 or 4 months, I consistently tried. Now, my
Mm-hmm.
other son was just like, just give her a key so she'll stop talking about it. That's how he felt about it. But the
Oh
other
my
one, he was
God.
like, oh no.
Because he won't live in there.
So, no, the older two that were living together.
Oh. So the
Yeah.
other
So,
one was like, go and give her a key. What?
yeah. Yeah. He was like, go ahead and give her a key, because he was tired of hearing my mouth. But he works like 13 jobs. So he probably was thinking, if she pop up, I'm not going to be here
I ain't
anyway.
gonna be here anyway. Look, my girl got her own place, so I'm good. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. But yeah, I can only imagine. I'll be there, myself one day. But I can only imagine that does have to be, difficult and quite a transition on both parts, really, on both parts. So
Yeah.
you know, so the question is, do parents get a pass for being violent with their adult children simply because they are the parents?
No, no. I've always had an issue with the importance of parents respecting their children,
Mm-hmm.
even as a child.
Yeah.
I don't think that the respect just comes once your child is an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, there's certain things that are not acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
cursing out your child
Mm-hmm.
and all of that kind of stuff, making them feel like their thoughts and that they as a person don't matter,
Right.
simply because they are a child.
Right.
Those types of things, like I've never respected that. I could never
Yeah.
get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you already practice basic consideration and decency
Mm-hmm.
for a child, simply because if for no other reason they're a human being,
Right.
then it's not such a huge leap
Mm-hmm.
to have respect for them once they become an adult. Now, of
Yeah.
course, in the heat of the moment, if you're angry and something goes down and you give them a two-piece and a biscuit, you're going to feel justified in that moment for what
Mm-hmm.
it is that you did. But I don't think that you get a blanket pass simply because you're a parent
Mm-hmm.
to be physical or even to say certain things to
Yeah.
your kids. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. And my thing is, to me, if you're going to be violent with your adult child, you, I could, dare to say you're violent, period.
Right.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? This isn't going to be the first time that you've been violent with another adult.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, this isn't going to be the first time that you cuss out an adult or say something crazy to an adult, even though it may be easier to do that in your mind because it's your child. But to look at this person who is your child and see that it is an adult, maybe even towering over you, and still
Mm-hmm.
go there, you've been violent with other people before. 9 times
Yeah.
out of 10. I mean, I would be shocked to hear of a parent getting violent with their child and they've never been violent with another adult before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it probably goes to say something more about the adult. I do understand there are cases like you were saying before where you may have an adult child who is just feels entitled or whatever. And again, that comes from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of times you created this monster. If
Right.
you're dealing with an entitled, spoiled, disrespectful adult child, guess what?
Yep.
You created that monster. They didn't
It's
pop
true.
up at age 18 and become disrespectful and entitled. They were
Right.
disrespectful and entitled as they were growing up. And who was responsible for that?
Right. It's real.
Unfortunately, they're 18 and nobody wants to hear about my mama made me this way. Other adults
Mm-hmm.
they deal with don't care and don't want to, hear about that, but it's a reality and they're going to have to figure out how to grow beyond that and adjust, and which is going to be difficult for them. And I'm sorry, that does lay on the shoulders of whomever raised them.
Right.
So that's a whole other a whole other issue of that being the monster that you created. But I agree, no parent gets a pass. They often do though, because I think, you know, as an adult child, you're just like, I mean, it's wrong, but that's my mama, or
Mm-hmm.
that's my dad. What do I do? I can't call the police on them, or I can't hit them back. So it's this space, it's this weird space of they cross the line, but it's my mom or it's my
Mm-hmm.
dad. And I really don't know how to handle the situation, because then you're caught between having regard for a parent and them having more power and more say so and more authority over you because they are your parent,
Mm-hmm.
and not knowing how to um, differentiate between that and them crossing a line.
Right.
So I'm sure it's very difficult, and I think more than likely some parents who do that take advantage of that fact.
Yeah.
um so I don't know, I guess it's kind of a difficult thing, but I know it does happen, unfortunately. And one thing that I think really made me think about this is I saw a court show that I'm always watching. It was a court show I saw where this young lady had actually brought her mother to court. And I think it was over some bill her mother hadn't paid, but she talked about how her mother just always seemed to despise her. And as an adult, her mother actually punched her in the eye and punched her so hard that it like damaged the bone around her eye and,
Oh my gosh.
shut her eye closed and she couldn't go to work and all this kind of stuff. And it was just horrible. It was just absolutely horrible. And then her mother goes to explaining how her daughter was being disrespectful. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but do you understand that you punched your daughter in the eye and damaged the bone around her? You could have blinded her. Like,
Yeah.
what's really going on here?
Right.
And they go into the tension they had throughout their lives. She had her daughter young, and her daughter always felt like her mother resented her. So it's like it's always deeper. It's not just you
Hmm.
disrespecting me in this moment. Her mother had issues with her before, and then her daughter had issues with her. So it's a back and forth, and it's like that's heavy when you get to the point where you punch your child, your adult child,
Hmm.
like that. I mean, her daughter had children. She had, grandchildren. So it's like, I don't know. It was just crazy to me, that this could happen,
Hmm.
to that extent, really. To any extent is bad, but to that extent was just crazy to me. And then for her to try to justify it. And she
Yeah.
showed no remorse for it whatsoever.
I can
Um,
believe it because there's certain generations, and now I think it's a little bit different, but not to our benefit, but
mhm.
um you know that sense of entitlement that the elders had
Yeah.
in terms of what was acceptable
Hmm.
for them to do, and they kind of had a broad stroke of the brush
Hmm.
where they could kind of do and say whatever it was that they wanted to do and say, and it really was considered acceptable
Hmm.
amongst their peers for them to behave that way because they were deemed the elders,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. And in our culture, we joke as adults. We joke about if I talk to my mama like that today, she'd knock my teeth out. She'd knock me into that, all we joke and laugh about it because we have that level of regard, first of all, for our parents in general,
Right.
where it's like we wouldn't dare, be so disrespectful to our parents. And, we have the thought of, I mean, she very well may, you know, slap us in the face for being disrespectful, even as an adult, and we
Right.
accept that's acceptable to us. And to a certain degree, I don't disagree. And I mean, I think sometimes you do have some adult children who will be so disrespectful, and I don't see anything wrong with your mother smacking you in the face or in the mouth saying, "Look, I'm still your mother. Don't get it
Mm-hmm.
twisted." But then when
Mm-hmm.
it gets to the point where it's like we about to have a boxing match, it's about to,
Yeah.
go all in all out. That's a bit much. Or when it becomes abusive, some adult children need to be checked. I do believe that. Sometimes you do need to
Yeah.
be checked because that's still your mother or that's still your father, and you need to have some respect and some regard.
Right.
Um, but I think it's a line that gets confused and skewed in terms of that. And it's just, again, like we talked about with disciplining children, it's ironic how we grow up and we joke about it. We
Mm-hmm.
laugh about what could become abusive and what is considered abuse, and it's
Mm-hmm.
nostalgic. We laugh
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
nostalgia of our abuse,
Yeah.
in our
Of
culture.
the lack of boundaries,
Yeah.
how inappropriate it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we
So
we explain away a lot of our toxic
mm,
behaviors and interactions because it's been so normalized in
mm-hmm,
our culture
mm-hmm,
to show up in a certain way
mm-hmm,
that nobody is saying, hey, maybe that's not exactly a good idea.
Yeah.
I know maybe, our grandparents, our great parents may have conducted themselves this way, but, now that we know what we know, maybe we should tweak this a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so let's talk about how, this violent relationship, between parent and adult child, how could that affect the adult child and others in the family? Because we can't forget, this isn't always done just between the two. It's
Right.
sometimes done in front of other family members,
Right.
and other people. How do you say that would affect the adult child and other people in the family?
Well, when you talk about these things happening in front of other people, um, I see that as a far deeper indication of the breakdown in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you decide to keep conflict private,
Mm-hmm.
that is to me, that is a display of respect and reverence for the person that you have a conflict with. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, and not to go off on a tangent, but for instance, if my husband and I were to ever be in a disagreement,
Mm-hmm.
that would the public would never know that. A
Right.
visitor that comes over would never know that. A
Mm-hmm.
person next to us in the store would never know that, because we're going to handle our conflicts, our disagreements in private.
Right.
It's not going to be on display for the world to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you make a decision to make your conflicts public, there is, at the root of that, there is a desire to berate or
Mm-hmm.
humiliate
Mm-hmm.
that person. And so that to me goes into something else. If you are looking to berate or humiliate your child, you have to understand that when you pin somebody into a corner, or they feel pinned into a corner, that the reaction might not necessarily fall in line with what has been deemed acceptable to you
Mm-hmm.
for all of those years, because you've created a high pressure situation.
Mm-hmm.
You've tapped into another part of that person
Mm-hmm.
who also has, their own concept of self-worth, their ego, their pride, and you're crossing into that realm
Yeah.
for them to feel the need to protect that.
Yeah.
And really, it would be very difficult, I think, for the child to maintain a relationship with the parent if there aren't clear established boundaries. Like, why would you want to put yourself in that kind of situation where at any given time they could cross a line and they don't feel any type of way about it?
Yeah.
That just
Yeah.
doesn't seem. I don't think a person who's either healthy emotionally or who is seeking to have a healthier emotional life would subject themselves to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true, but it becomes, oh, it becomes an exception because you're dealing with a parent. You know what I
Mm,
mean? It could be a
mm,
person, I believe, it could be a person who's like, in any other relationship, you definitely would not deal with this. Completely
mm,
unacceptable. You exit stage left. But when it's a parent, it's like, so this means I'm not going to have much of a relationship with my mother or my father. And so you
mm.
put the onus on yourself.
Right.
And then you think about how this is going to look to the rest of the family. Oh, that child
Mm,
is just so ungrateful, and just, how dare you not call and check on your mother, or call and check on your father? How dare you
mhm,
not come and visit you're so ungrateful and disrespectful.
Right.
Because of
That's
course,
real.
all they're getting is the story from the parent,
That's real.
who is, the offender.
Right. It's
And
a
yeah,
lose-lose. It's a
it's a lose
lose-lose
lose.
situation.
It's a
Yeah,
lose lose.
you're
I
right.
mean, it's a lose lose until you change your mind, and
Right.
it's a win because you have peace.
Right. Girl, you better go ahead and give that word.
But you have to get there. You have to
That's
get
real.
there emotionally and mentally. And I think it's a difficult place to get to, because it's your parent, it's your
Yeah.
mom or it's your dad. And I hate to say it, but for some people they'll say this is they think of dads in terms of this, but for me, I think of moms. From what I've seen, is this is a mom thing. Of course, it's going to be different for other people, and I don't mean to put it one way or the other. I can only talk from what I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
in my perspective. But it does. I agree with you that for the most part it is a lose-lose situation. You end up feeling shunned by other family,
Mm-hmm.
feeling judged and put out pretty
Yeah.
much by other family. You start to feel like the black sheep,
Yep.
like something's really wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
um Maybe I should just let it go, but you struggle because the discomfort, the tension, the all of that of trying to be in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
trying to uh uh you know trying to figure out what's coming and when, get a feel for, it's like being in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. It is.
You're on pins and needles wondering when are they going to snap next,
Right.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know there are situations when, again, as an adult child, you pop off or at your mouth and you say stuff, that they don't like, but that doesn't give them the right to hit you.
Right.
But you have some people that feel like it does. And I think there are situations too where the parent and the child is so much alike. And
Well,
that's
yeah,
why they conflict and butt heads.
that's true.
you
That's true.
know, and that child is so much like them, they can say something that will just hit that nerve just right. It's like because
Mm-hmm.
they're just like you. That's why. And you say stuff that makes them want to pop you in the mouth, but they can't because you they mama.
Right. Well, when you were when you were talking, and what it made me think about was, you know, that that line between an adult child sharing their truth with
Mm.
their parent
Mm-hmm.
and what the parent deems as disrespect,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know, because you have a right to share your truth
Mm-hmm.
with whomever,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Now, granted, you may have to pour a little honey on it,
Mm-hmm.
depending upon who the listener is and what
Right.
the message is,
Mm-hmm.
for it to be better received. But you still have the right to share your truth. And so, if that parent's level of sensitivity is that anything that could be considered critical
Mm-hmm.
of them and the job that they have done, if they deem that as disrespect,
Yeah.
then you really don't have a safe space
No.
to share your truth,
Nope.
you know? So it's like, well, where is that line? And how can both parties operate authentically in that type of energy?
You can't. You can't. You can't. It's all in water. You can shake it all day and it's going to look like it mixed together for a little while. But eventually, that oil is gonna come right back on the surface, and it's gonna be like this.
Yeah, you're right.
They're gonna butt against each other. It's not gonna work because it's like you said. I mean, it's very true. If the parent is in a position of they're so insecure,
Mm-hmm.
really,
Mm-hmm.
about the job that they did as a parent, and you as an adult child are sharing your experiences that may not be so great about that, it's, you can't win.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win. I mean, and I think the bottom line is, you know, I don't think any adult realistically should think that they're going to raise a child and that child is not going to have any qualms about their childhood experiences.
Right.
Because no, not no, but most adults, I don't think, can look back at their childhoods and say everything was perfect.
Right. Right.
Everything my mom did, everything my dad did was perfect. They didn't miss a game. They didn't, make me feel. No, I
Right.
mean, on TV, yes.
Yeah.
Scripted, yes.
Yeah.
But in
Mm-hmm.
reality, some people may even grow up and say that. It's like because you blocked out all the other stuff. Let's be
Right.
real. You
Mm-hmm.
chose to or needed to block out whatever else to make
That's real.
this happy, perfect life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's real. I mean, there are adult children in the Black community today that will not even say that they had a problem with
mhm,
something that their parent did,
yeah.
because that level of respect, fear, whatever, in even honoring themselves
Mm,
by being honest about what their experience is, they feel like they would be dishonoring the parent. And
right.
the parent may feel that way too. And so it keeps, in my view, it 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 keeps the level of intimacy that could that has the potential to flourish
Mm,
in this new dynamic with
mm-hmm.
an adult child. It keeps that from growing to its potential because
Yeah.
you're not operating in truth.
But I'll tell you, I think there are some really special instances where, an adult child and the parent can develop a relationship that is different and much better than it was when they were a child.
Mm-hmm.
I think that does happen, but I think more often than not, um, it's a continuation. The way you as a parent talk to and dealt with your child is going to be um, carried into how you deal with them as an adult.
Right.
If you were open with them and made them feel like they could be open with you as a child, it'll be
Mm-hmm.
that same way as an adult. If
Mm-hmm.
you made them feel like they weren't allowed to express themselves or say anything, to you about how they feel about something you said or did to them, they won't be able to do that as an adult.
That's real.
And again, it's a matter of shifting the way you think.
Yeah.
Because I do think when your child becomes an adult, that's your opportunity to say, let's change this relationship. Was not the best at all when you were growing up. But now that
Right.
you're a grown woman or you're a grown man, we can sit down and have an adult conversation about that. And we can decide that it's going to be different from this day forward. I'm going to talk to you differently. I'm going to speak, I'm going to treat you differently. And hopefully you will do the same. And we're just going to
Mm-hmm.
choose to be better and make this a better relationship.
Yeah. That's real.
So,
That's real.
yeah. All right. So we are going to, before we go into our last part, we're going to jump into a few of our segments. In your Black business, um, we still have no Black business to be in. Um, so once again, we are always just looking for Black owned, Black run businesses to highlight on our show. So if you have a Black owned, Black run business that you would like to highlight, or someone that does, you can email us at myperspective@gmail.com. That's myperspective@gmail.com. Again, that's my perspective with an H, mypherspective at gmail.com. You can give us the name of your business, give us a brief summary of about your business and your contact information, and maybe any promotional or sales information for your business. So we would love to highlight your business here on the show. We just want to be supportive of Black owned and Black run businesses. So now off to New Day's resolution, where every day we are resolving to work on something, whether it be our health, whether it be business goals, relationships, whatever that it is. Every new day is a new opportunity to kind of start over again and complete something new. So, how are you doing with your New Day's resolution?
Well, I'll just tell you, this past week was a throwaway in the most fantastic way, because as you know, I was on vacation. My husband travels a lot for work, and this particular assignment that he's on, he was gone for an extended period of time. So we decided to make a trip of it. And I met him out in Dallas. I had never been to Dallas. Shout out to all the Dallas listeners. It was a fantastic city, great food, and we were like teenagers. We rode go-karts and played laser tag and went bowling, and it was just we went to the wax museum. Like, we had a really, really good time.
Good.
And so yeah, there was no dieting going on. When I got on the scale when I got back, I had gained 10 pounds in 5 days.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we for anybody, let me just say this, for anybody who goes to Dallas or wherever this particular restaurant is located, it's called Papados. And if you have not ever been there, and especially if you live like within 40 miles, it's worth the 40-mile trip.
Wow.
Like, fantastic. Fantastic. Like, they have everything that you could think of. It's, they have a lot of seafood. It's like a seafood based restaurant, but they also have like steaks and chicken and things like that. And they have a lot of like Louisiana influenced food. So gumbo and jambalaya, just that's all I could say. It was just, I had crawfish, I had alligator, like, it was just so freaking good. So that's my whatever the segment is. I'm sorry, I'm salivating over here. I gotta get control of my liquids.
New Days.
You go ahead.
You did an Alita Adams and reached him by railway, trailway. You got there however you needed to get there. I can respect that. Shoot.
Yes. I love my baby.
Yes.
I told him one time, I said, I will follow you into the mouth of a volcano because I trust your leadership that much.
All right.
That's it. Try and tell you.
Girl, that's what I'm talking about.
But how about you? Well, like I said, I got to get my salivary glands together because I'm thinking about this gator and this crawfish.
Well, so I think I talked about before how we have been trying to get this balcony together to be like an outside space for our son. And we finally did. Yay! So yes, NERDSoul went out there and he like sprayed it down because everything went left. We're trying to get somebody to come out here and do that, but that was actually a blessing because it just didn't work out. And so we ended up not having to pay them hundreds of dollars, and we ended up just doing it ourselves. We went out there and sprayed it down and it turned out really, really great, scrubbed it and all that kind of good stuff. And so now, weather permitting, we just kind of open the sliding glass door and let the little one just come in and out as he pleases. He'll go out there and play some, roll around, do what he's doing, come right back in the house. We found like I got this garden mesh net and we've got like the tension rods and put it on
Mm-hmm.
top and the bottom. And I use like the iron on, hem tape, to put that together. And so that blocks out all the bugs. We haven't had any issues with that. And so it's like, he enjoys it where he can kind of go in and out and have like that little extra room, a little extra space out there. So we finally got that together. I'm still going to create some benches. I've been looking on YouTube. This is another thing I'm working on, to create benches with cinder blocks.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so that's another thing we're gonna have going. So I've already kind of like mapped it out, the plans on PowerPoint. So I made like a PowerPoint to like map it out exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna do that. So that's done, in terms of preparing that space for him. So he still can go out there. I got me a rug out there. So I did that. Um and I'm back into really working on the curriculum. So
Mm-hmm.
I got that back going. I was working on that a few minutes ago. I still have not yet gotten a routine together to do my yoga, because I got my yoga mat. I just have to pick a routine for yoga and for working out, but I want to get my meal plan together before I do that, because there's really no point in, eating biscuits and, you know, packs of cookies and you try to, you know. So yeah, that'll be the next thing I start working on, is getting my meal plans and stuff together, and then my yoga and my squats and all that good stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get summer ready, because the summer gonna get what it always got. That's all I'm saying. Look, it is what it is. It's gonna get what it get. Um, I'm just trying to get better. I'm not trying to say, oh, for the summer. I'm not putting that kind of pressure on myself, because it's not that serious. Um,
I feel you. I
just
feel
better.
you.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to footnotes. We have, as usual, unfortunately, in footnotes we talk about what's come to be as people who have passed, and just other things in the news that have come up since last time. So what do we have for footnotes this week?
Yes. So, for those that don't know, our episodes are pre-recorded. And I think for the last episode, we had reported that DMX was hospitalized at that
Yeah.
point. And he has since passed away, which I'm sure everybody knows now. So we want to give condolences to his family,
Yeah.
and sending prayers that he transitions well. He was a huge influence on hip hop,
Yeah.
and you know, I refuse to discuss any of his struggles, because I
Yeah.
don't think that that is appropriate or necessary.
Yeah.
He appeared to be a very passionate
Mm-hmm.
um, man, and I think that that should be celebrated. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I will say it was a video I saw of a prayer that he did. I don't recall what the event was, but it was some program he was on. It was Cheryl Underwood, Vanessa Bell Calloway, and some other celebrities. And he said a prayer. Um, and of course, he did it in the form of a rap. And it gives me chills to think about it. But it gave me chills to hear it, and it brought tears to my eyes, because it was just so sincere. It was a
yeah,
very sincere prayer directly from him to God, and it was just amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and it's just something that I don't know. It's just something that stayed with me, and to me, it just said a lot about his spirit.
yeah,
So it was just amazing. What else do we
indeed.
have?
Well,
Mm,
um, the next story is the fatal shooting of a 20-year-old Black man named Dante Wright, by a white Minneapolis police officer named Kim Potter. There have been conflicting reports on the reason for the stop. Some sources are saying that it was in regards to tags. Other sources are saying it was in regards to an air freshener that was dangling from the rear view mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Either way it goes, the young man called his mother when he was pulled over. This 20-year experienced, quote unquote, officer pulls her gun and mistakes it for her taser, air quotes for mistakes, and holds the taser in her hand long enough to say, taser, taser, I'm going to tase you, and not recognize that it's a gun. This is the story. So, just in case people can't hear the sarcasm, because you can't see my face, so you can't see the eye rolling and the neck popping. But she murdered him right there in his vehicle, and she resigned from the police force
with her pension and benefits.
Yes, and the police department made it known that they didn't fire her. She resigned. So I don't know why they felt the need to say that publicly, because they should have been ashamed. But either way it goes, they made it known that she resigned, that they didn't fire her, and now she has been charged with second-degree manslaughter. But what's even more rich is the president decided to make a statement about this situation. He wanted us to know, that there's going to be an investigation and we'll figure out how everything turns out. But there is absolutely no justification for looting. That's what we're going to dig into.
Right.
We're going to draw the line in the sand at the looting. Not the absurdity of a police officer who has 20 years experience mixing up a gun and a taser.
A taser that had a neon yellow end to it. Mind you. Okay.
That is placed on the opposite side. So my understanding is whatever your dominant side is the side that your gun goes on. The non-dominant side is the side that your taser goes on. This is standard police protocol. This is from the research that I've done. Okay, so not only did she reach with her dominant hand, to grab her gun, to mistake the gun for a taser, disregard the coloring of said so-called taser,
and the weight.
Thank you. I was getting ready to say that. The weight, the size, the shape, all of that. You hold the gun long enough to give a warning that you're going to tase them, and then you murder them.
And let me say, unfortunately, we've seen these videos, and we've seen several videos at this point of people being tased by the police. I have never, in all of these videos I've seen, heard anyone go, taser, taser, taser.
Right.
Never. It sounds to me like she was covering her behind because she knew she was about to murder this young man. And by yelling taser and pretending it was a mistake, she knew she was going to drop herself down to manslaughter instead of murder. And I was saying this before they decided to charge her with manslaughter. Because NERDSoul and I actually did a podcast last night where we talked about this.
Yeah, I thought it was very odd for her to yell out taser. I felt like it was odd to even escalate it to a taser. You know what I mean? Like it just
in the video he wasn't doing anything.
Right. It was very odd to me. And so to go back to dear old Joe, and him drawing a line in the sand with the looting. I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, I've actually had a situation where one of my sons called me when he was pulled over by the police. And I remember that feeling of being terrified and not having any control whatsoever of what was going to happen to my child. You know what I mean? I remember that. So this mother knows that her son has been pulled over. And when she gets to the location, she has to watch her son's body lay on the ground for hours. Hours. She begged them to pick him up off of the ground for hours. She begged him. She begged them. And so dear old Joe wants to draw a line in the sand of acceptability with looting. There's no justification for that. No. There's no justification for mistaking, quote unquote, a taser for a gun and escalating a air freshener or expired tag situation to a murder.
Yep.
Period.
Now, they're trying to say something I just read. Now they're trying to say that he had a warrant. Whatever it was, if the warrant was not for murder.
Right.
If he wasn't considered some violent fugitive or whatever, it does not have to go here. You're not the judge, jury, and executioner.
Right.
You're not. And I'm sick and tired of this. And going back to dear old Joe, this is the same, person that when we were when he was running, him and sister girl Kamala Harris, our sister girl, right? When they were running, and some black people were asking questions and saying, don't forget about the crime bill. Don't forget about all of these things. We need to ask some questions. We need to, ask for tangibles. We need to make some demands. And other black people was like, just shut up and vote.
Yep.
This is why we were asking questions and examining their past, because I'm sorry, have we heard anything from Kamala Harris? Let's listen.
No, what's going to happen, what I think is going to happen, they got old Joe talking about it right now. But if things start to escalate as far as the demonstrations and stuff like that, if things start to escalate on the level of the George Floyd case, then that's when they're going to have her conveniently brown face on the TV trying to calm black folks down, trying to make black folks think that because she has a brown face that she is our ally and that they're looking out for our best interests. Mark my words, if things get to a certain point, we're going to start seeing her face so that she can throw us a bone and get us to stop being angry.
And that's fine. And I'll say the same thing I said about Keisha Bottoms. Have a seat. Sit down. Because Keisha Bottoms came up with that mess too in Atlanta. Talking about, you're destroying the CNN building. Who cares? Do we own CNN? Do CNN care anything about us? No. Don't nobody care about the CNN building. Sit down. Telling people, go home.
Yeah.
It's so infuriating. And I'm so angry too, because in all of this, first of all, since they've been in office, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden both used black people, specifically black women, to get into office.
Yes.
I will argue with anybody all day about that. They use, and especially Kamala Harris, she danced with black kids and she put on her Timberlands and she put herself on camera dancing to Cardi B and, shout out her AKAs and blackity black, blackity black. I ain't heard her say brown, let alone black, since she been in office. Nowhere to be found. She ain't got nothing for us. But you know what? We can't blame her because we didn't ask them for nothing. We didn't demand anything from them. We freely just jumped on board, shucking and jiving because it's a brown face. And it makes me angry.
Yeah, that's real.
Because part of me is like, we can't even be mad with them because we didn't demand anything. We're being
That's
told, the
real.
black people who are asking questions are being told to shut up and vote.
Yep. Yep.
And this is what
Oh,
we got.
well, side note, I just thought about something. Maybe Kamala is too busy with the Stop Asian Hate agenda because
Yeah.
last month she was Asian for that
Mm-hmm.
agenda. She was Asian.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, when they start something else up for this, or for whoever else they decide to murder in the next 6 weeks or so, she might be black again, but she Asian right now.
Oh, I don't think she's gonna choose to be black again because honestly, it ain't beneficial. I
Right.
mean, it ain't beneficial being black, and some of us just get to choose. Obviously, but
Right.
I love how there has to be a thorough investigation after we see somebody being murdered on tape, but they can just go ahead and start a whole nationwide agenda for Stop Asian Hate. And didn't see no wide investigation. It won't no, I mean, did it, I think it may have been one or two Asian people that were killed. I don't know, but I didn't see any wide thorough investigation. We just gonna start this campaign.
Right. Well,
It's funny how that works.
the story is that the crimes that have occurred in the past
Mm-hmm.
against Asians were
Mm-hmm.
not properly reported. And so it may have appeared to be a robbery, but it was actually a hate crime.
Mm.
So that's according to, I think it's a Senator Duckworth,
Mm-hmm.
who is kind of heading up this Stop Asian Hate uh, platform, or agenda, or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
case may be. That's her narrative, is that there have been all of these crimes in the past that never mentioned um, anything about race, but they were underreported or improperly reported hate crimes. So we're
Oh.
retroactively
Oh.
um, determining that these were hate crimes.
So
But um,
so we're gonna go back.
reparations is out of the question. Now
Right.
we have verified proof of terrorism,
Right.
but we're gonna retroactively consider things
Yeah.
hate crimes.
We're gonna
Yeah,
go we're gonna go back to the future for them.
right.
It's
Yeah.
it's so enraging. It's so enraging. And okay, let's just move on because this is a rabbit hole that we could just go down because I want to talk about Uncle Ben Crump, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole, and my chest is getting
Yes.
warm.
Yes.
So,
We will have a current events show coming up
yes,
soon, and we'll talk about all the different hot topics that are going
yes.
on. I do wanna say that violence and crimes against anybody is wrong, point blank. Period.
Mm-hmm,
That definitely needs to be said, because I
mm-hmm,
know that things can be misconstrued in this on this type of platform.
mm-hmm,
So I will say that. But I will also say that Black people are always put at the back of the line when it
mm-hmm.
comes to injustice. And
Absolutely.
um, anybody who is being discriminated against, their needs always come before ours.
Mm-hmm.
And we never get our full due,
Never.
you know? And so why wouldn't we get frustrated?
Mm-hmm,
Why wouldn't people get tired of simply peacefully protesting?
mm-hmm,
Why wouldn't people get tired of simply voting and hoping that the person that they vote for is going to do something different, when history has shown that they continue to do the exact same things,
mm-hmm.
because there's no consequence for them not?
Exactly.
So, I wanted to put that out there. There's only so much that could be done to anyone, let alone a group of people, before they're tired, sick and tired
Mhm.
of being sick and tired.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, you can't expect people to experience all of these actions, all of these terrorist acts against them that are not peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
then us to remain peaceful.
Right.
You want the victims to be peaceful in
Mm-hmm.
expressing their victimization and
Right.
fighting against what you are doing to them to appease you.
Right.
Why I need to be peaceful?
It's real.
And what has being peaceful ever gotten us?
Nothing.
The only progress we've ever made as a people happened after violence.
That's real. That's
Ever.
real. That's real. Violence or withholding our dollar.
And then violence occurred after that. Maybe not, I'm saying, maybe not from us,
Right.
from the other parties, but
Right.
there was always violence.
I agree. For sure.
Always. It's
For
it's
sure.
like it's like they don't understand anything else. Hmm.
Well, on that note, we're gonna take a deep breath. I got one more story in our footnotes.
Okay.
Uh, and this is informational and kind of a public service announcement at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
For those that have been vaccinated for COVID with the Johnson and Johnson 1 dose vaccination. If you've had that vaccination in the past month or so, month to 6 weeks, and you are experiencing headaches that do not go away, significant abdominal or leg pain that does not subside, or increasing shortness of breath, health officials want you to call your doctor immediately. And the CDC has paused administering the Johnson and Johnson 1 dose COVID vaccination. The CDC announced that 6 women between the ages of 18 and 48 had developed cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, which is a clot in the area of the brain that collects and drains oxygen depleted blood. So, when this happens, blood cells may break and leak blood into the brain tissues, forming a hemorrhage. So, if you are having any of those symptoms, headache, leg pain, abdominal pain that does not subside, shortness of breath, and you've had the 1 dose Johnson and Johnson COVID vaccination in the last 4 to 6 weeks, please seek medical attention immediately.
Wow. I will add on to that for those that have had the Pfizer or Moderna shots. Just the first one. I've had the first one of Moderna. I get the second one on Friday. I've been told by several people that that second shot is a doozy. That you will have aches, you will have fever, you will have fatigue. So just prepare yourself. That's what I've been told. So yeah, prepare yourself. I've been told also that it lasts for a day. It doesn't occur on that same day, but the next day following, you have those symptoms, and then the day after that, it goes away. So just passing that on to, you know, for those that have had the first round, just prepare yourself for the second one. It may, you know, you may have those symptoms. Okay. So to jump into the end of what we were talking about parents that possibly have a volatile or violent relationship with their adult children. So the last question is, how, as the adult child, do you set that boundary with your parent or parents?
Hmm. I mean, I think you have to be direct. You have to you have to be clear about what it is that you need, why it is that you need it,
Mm-hmm.
the consequence of it not happening.
Mm.
But also you can't be in a position of financial dependence
Mm-hmm.
on that parent either. You can't
Mm-hmm.
set boundaries living in somebody else's house.
Right.
You can't set boundaries when you're attached to somebody else's purse string. So you have to have independence from that person,
Mm-hmm.
and then, let the parameters be known. And then whatever you identify as that consequence, you have to be willing to you have to be willing to do whatever that consequence is.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I think it kind of goes back to what I said before is you have to, are you more dedicated to um hmm, what is being passed off as a relationship, quite honestly? Or are
Mm.
you more dedicated to your own peace?
Ooh, girl, you just dropping jewels. I'm gonna pass this collection plate around.
I mean, it's sad to think about having to choose between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe once you become an adult, especially as you get into your own relationship and start having your own family,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, look, this emotional stronghold is too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't. I
Mm-hmm.
need and deserve peace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's not an easy thing, I don't think to an easy decision to come to, because it's dealing with your parent.
Mm-hmm.
You've had no longer relationship with anyone in your life
Right.
than with your parent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's what it comes down to. You have to be dedicated to your own peace. I think you have to sit down with yourself and say, okay, let me examine myself first off. What
Mm-hmm.
what can I fix? What am I genuinely doing wrong? What is my part? I always like to say in anything. First ask yourself, what was my part? What is my
Mm-hmm.
part? What do I need to do differently going forward? What's my responsibility? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, I can't do anything about what this person is or is not doing. I can only respond to it. I can't
Right.
control what they're doing. I can't change it. I can't fix it. None of those things. Can't stop it. But how am I going to respond in order to keep my peace and in order to keep my integrity? And whatever comes, these are my boundaries. I will not be spoken to this way. I will not be talked to this way. I will not be treated this way. I
Mm-hmm.
will not entertain this exchange with you. I
Right.
will not continue this toxic relation. I love you, but I need you to understand this is not what I'm going to do. And you can handle yourself accordingly. You can
Right.
respond accordingly. The ball is now in your court. That
Mm-hmm.
that's to me, that's how you set these boundaries. And you can do that with being completely respectful. Don't have to be disrespectful, don't have to call nobody out of their name, don't have to cuss, don't have to shout.
Right.
You know, it's
That's
it's
real.
it's really that simple, but it's not that simple. I understand it's not that simple in terms of getting yourself there mentally and emotionally to be able to say those things to a parent,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So all I can say to get yourself there is prayer, if that's what you believe in, or meditation, whatever it is that you need that helps you to center yourself and get yourself there mentally. Do it,
That's real.
because life is short, and it gets to a point where you are responsible for you.
That's
You
real.
know. So all right, y'all. So that is our show. This is the ending of this short series, Love Taps. If you wanted to check out the first two, they will be linked below. Now, we promised you that after this, we were gonna do something happy. We probably because living this black life, Jesus. I'm telling you, it's one thing after another, but Lord, we gonna find something happy. for you guys next time. We're going to do something uplifting and joyful next time. We may have to dig to find it, but we're going to find it. So be looking for that in our next episode. We're just going to have something where we can just kind of sit back and release and enjoy ourselves and celebrate each other as Black people, as Black women, as Black families, Black men. But thank you all for listening. As always, thank you for those that continue to support and share and respond. So we want you to like, comment, subscribe, and most of all, continue the conversation. We want to thank NERDSoul as always for allowing us to be on his platform. You can find his many videos and all of our videos on YouTube on ThatNERDSoul, and you can check out any of his merchandise on shop.ThatNERDSoul.com. So thank you once again, and take care, be safe, and God bless. Bye, y'all.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.